How's it going, everyone? This is just a short video about recent events in the wrestling world. Scott Steiner apparently collapsed at a Impact taping a few days ago, and his wife has tweeted, and Tommy Dreamer and Scott D'Amore from Impact have tweeted that it took a day or two after he was in the hospital. But they tweeted that he's expected to make a full recovery. But I also understand that he did undergo some sort of heart surgery. So I'm not sure if he had maybe a heart arrhythmia or something to that effect, like an irregular heartbeat. It sounds like something along those lines. And if you pass out a lot of times, it could be maybe his blood pressure got really high or way too low. Um, could be, and that could go back to something with your heart and the high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and the ventricles in your heart. But um, if they're saying this quickly, that he definitely is expected to be a full recovery, and basically to fans that he's going to be back out there right away, and even be at Comic Con coming up here real soon, which I think is on WrestleMania weekend. If he had any sort of heart surgery, it wasn't like a bypass or a major surgery, apparently. So, but as far as I know, there's not information specifically as to what was wrong with his heart or anything. So, maybe he had, like I said, an irregular heartbeat or something, and maybe his blood pressure was super high, and perhaps that caused him to pass out, and he's just more in there for observation to make sure he's okay than anything else for a few days. And I know I reported about Rip Oliver's health, being from up here in the Northwest, fond memories of him, and apparently he has passed away. There's a cool picture of him on Hannibal TV, and I'm sure it's his son Larry beside him. Pretty sure, and he looks great. He looks great. Looks like um, really good people, all four of them. Just what I thought they would be. Just really down to earth, really good people, And as far as I know, they're in Florida, but his son Larry looks just like I would think when they're up here in the Northwest. I think he has like a still saw hat on and suspenders and everything, and he's a great big guy. Looks just like a logger out setting chokers or something, So that was kind of cool to see, but. Um, you know, um, Rip gave us a lot of good memories coming up to our small towns, and I'm just glad that he's been able to cross over and have his loved ones there. And it's always best, like with my dad, when for quite a while, and you're able to spend time and do everything. It makes it so much easier, and you can really accept it. And so, that in itself is a good thing. Um, and let's see here. AEW's Revolution has gone by, and I don't get, like a lot of people, the tag team scene there, and supposedly the Young Bucks are in control of that, and Kenny Omega's in control of the women's division, and the women's division is seriously, under fire from a lot of people, and it seems like their niche audience that they have, which a lot of people call them marks. I don't use that term, but they got a lot of what I see is like kind of college age people and just a certain niche audience, and it seems like and also a political bent, a certain political people that hold certain views, and seems like they are catering towards that one side, and that doesn't make sense to me. You want when you do that, especially when you go into the political side, you're always alienating another side, and that side may not want to tune in because they're offended by that. And you want wrestling, you want to leave that stuff out of it. It's to tune in and escape those cares for a while. You don't want things like politics and things to be a part of it. And but the women's division is under fire from a lot of people. And the tag team division, they have a lot of good people like veterans with the um, what are they calling them? Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels. SCU is it? Um, yeah, SoCal Uncensored SCU. I was thinking OC there for a minute. I knew that wasn't right. That's AJ Styles and Carl Anderson and them. But and, the Lucha Brothers. They've got a lot of good tag teams, but um, they don't really have enough teams. It doesn't seem like they have their top echelon teams. 3 or 4 is plenty, but they just don't have. It doesn't seem like they're interested enough in tag teams. But me, I'm one that's always. I like having a tag team division be really active. Have a lot of people. I've grown up with the NWA on TBS, and Crockett was already really into tag teams even back when it was just Mid Atlantic in the '70s, and so that's something I like. So that could be just my own preference, but the only part I see that's really making progress and adjusting and making changes when it seems like they're making mistakes and they're improving is the singles division, and especially around the champion. I'm not really for Jericho losing the title already like this, but Moxley has obviously got people behind him, and but I imagine that the Jericho Moxley thing is just getting started. The inner circle is going to have a lot to say about every time we see Moxley. They're not going to be far behind, I'm sure. But that division and what you have going with Cody, and now really surprising to see Jake the Snake show up. And a lot of people are thinking that Luke Harper apparently is free from the WWE. That Jake basically is going to be bringing in a client, and it could be that I can't think of who it would be, but I'd like to see someone old school, like even if Kevin Sullivan came in and brought a newer person, but Kevin has this guy, the Blood Hunter, like up in Great North Wrestling, and Kevin having put together the Dungeon of Doom, and he always kind of sponsors guys that are his type of guys. Kevin has his whole dark side and everything, and um, you know, Kevin was in Florida a lot like the Andersons or J.J. Dillon, the Horsemen. Anti roads basically is what I'm getting at. I'd like to see someone that was very an anti-roads thing. I remember tuning into NWA. It was a lot like watching the WWF, where all of the bad guys were trying to destroy Hulkamania, and all the lower guys in the WWF were somehow friends or allies with Hogan, or they were his enemy. And in the NWA, you tune into that, and all the lower guys were either aligned with Dusty Rhodes, or all the bad guys were friendly with one another and were out to destroy the Rhodes name and whatnot. I would like to see it turn into something like that. with the new generation. And already in Cody, I see a lot of Dusty's promos, but just an updated Rhodes style, how he builds up to a high crescendo and then comes down and speaks quiet. And when he comes out, it's a big experience when he comes to the ring and everything. And, the singles division is working out and they could really build something around that. And, I really liked the Dustin and Jake Hager match. And I noticed something really strange. I've been following what happened with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, and it was in the last round, I believe, where Fury he was saying before the fight that he could taste Wilder's blood, and he actually was up against Wilder, and he was bleeding from that ear, and he stuck his tongue out and licked like on his shoulder by his neck. He was actually tasting his blood. It's like, I've got your number, is what he was saying. That's the way I interpreted that. And I could swear I seen Jake Hager, and the announcers didn't zero in on it or anything, but he gave Dustin a clothesline to the corner, and then he dropped back and he gave him another one, and he gets up against the side of his face and he sticks his tongue out and like licks his ear or something, which I didn't really get it because Dustin wasn't bleeding, but to me it seemed like he was trying to feed off of that little spot that they had in a recent big boxing match. But if he was, nobody noticed it, and announcers didn't zero in on it or anything. But all in all, I thought Revolution was a big step up for AEW, and there's some excitement around their singles division and the world title scene, and that feeling of actually building to something, just like with Cody and MJF, and then when they're actually in the ring, and you can actually invest yourself in what's going to happen, when they're actually there getting physical with one another. You can actually sit and forget about what you know and suspend your disbelief, like they say, and get into it and enjoy the heat of the moment. Just like a big title fight in boxing, the heat of the moment, and the guy's getting battered, and you're waiting to see if he can come back and knock the guy out. And it had a good, real sports feel to it, like that. And to me, that's what I'm looking for. And that's what they promised beforehand, like with their ranking system and keeping track of records and everything. And to me, that's not entirely worked out, but it's a work in progress. And that's kind of what they keep saying. So I can understand that. At least they're humble enough to admit that it's a work in progress. So as long as they keep taking forward steps, I'll hang in there and see if it doesn't work out. All right. Thanks. I'll see you guys later.